I just wanted to make sure that you're okay with us recording this.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. This is John, and I'm here with my associate, Derek Watson. And we're here to sit down with Lauren DeBell. She's the Chief Strategy Officer for Elevation Community Land Trust, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her program and her services. So welcome, Lauren.
Great.
And so let's just start off. Tell us about yourself and how you became involved with Elevation.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me today. So I became involved with Elevation about a year and a half ago. I was actually working with another nonprofit here in the Denver area and really learned about Elevation's mission. So we have been around, we're sort of incubated at the end of 2017, but not really staffed until the end of 2018. So we're just in the second year of operations and really excited about the impact we've been able to make thus far. Prior to working with Elevation, I was, as I mentioned, working with another nonprofit that was also in the land trust space. And then I have a background in everything from photography to some commercial real estate. So I really just discovered a passion for wanting to make more equitable housing, available across the Colorado region. So that's how I ended up here at Elevation. In my current role, I work with both our real estate and our stewardship group. So really that full life cycle of Elevation acquiring properties for our portfolio and then working with applicants to qualify them for our program, and our stewardship group that works with them to then, qualify and pair qualified applicants with available homes. And we just reached our 50th homeowner, so we're really excited.
Oh, great. Excellent. So it's helping people get homes through community land trust model, right?
Yes. So the community land trust model, our sole mission is to really work with Colorado communities to create and develop permanently affordable home ownership opportunities. So the community land trust model was really born out of the civil rights movement, and it is an opportunity to create wealth for low to moderate income families that, especially in places like Denver and really across Colorado, otherwise is very difficult to enter the home ownership market. So the community land trust model is really separating the ownership of the land from the improvements. So the land is held by the nonprofit, or in this case, Elevation, and then homeowners are able to purchase the improvements, which include the house itself, the sewer line. So they have a fee simple interest in the home and a leasehold interest in the land. And those two things are tied together through a renewable 99-year land lease. So by the land trust owning the land, that is that's part of sort of the formula, in addition to private and public subsidy that significantly lowers the price of these homes and makes them affordable to qualified households.
Okay, great. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, in addition, one of the other neat things about the CLT model is it really, these homes become part of essentially public infrastructure. So rather than having a deed restriction or something for a certain number of years, these homes will always be affordable in this community. And that one-time private and public subsidy that comes from both Elevation as well as the municipalities that we work with is able to serve multiple generations of homeowners because we're a shared equity model.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you. Can I jump in and ask a question real quick, John? And John and I were talking earlier before the interview, and I debated on whether or not I would share this with you, and I think, given what you've shared with us, I think I will. As a child, my mom benefited from those civil rights programs that you talked about for home ownership, and so when I hear you talk about it still today, and I'm thinking, geez, I remember how I felt actually living in a house as a child, and how that basically increased my self-esteem in ways that perhaps I would not have had if I didn't have a home. And so thank you guys for the work you're doing, because it's sad, unfortunately, that we still have to do that today. But it's good to know that support is still out there and still helping people. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
Now,
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that is one of the most gratifying aspects of our work is, we do view housing as so foundational, not just in terms of having a roof over your head, but in terms of all of those other benefits, of knowing that you and your family are not going to be displaced, of knowing that you can really invest in your community, that your kids, feel comfortable that they'll be going to the same schools, and there's so many tangential benefits that we see when people are able to be, secure in their housing stability, that it's really, we love hearing the homeowner stories of how significantly this program and this opportunity has changed people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. Now, we're in a unique time in a unique market here in Denver, with housing prices rising so rapidly, yeah. and you talked about some of the model that you use with getting people able to afford those types of homes. Can you tell us a little more about the shared equity and the leasing piece, because that's something that I think is important for people to understand.
Sure. So just to your point, in terms of where we are in this market, I believe, the average price of a Denver home is now over $675,000. The average price of an elevation CLT home is about $240,000. So there is a significant gap, right? And so when people ask about the CLT program and shared equity, I think it's really important to realize if somebody's able to get into market rate home ownership, that's great. But, this program, like any program, isn't right for everybody. But there is a huge swath of the population that in many cases is paying higher monthly rent payments than what they would on a mortgage, because there's this, $400,000 plus gap in in between what a community land trust home is and what the average market rate home is. So in terms of the shared equity program, so as I kind of mentioned before, we're a private public subsidy, and so our funds come from a group of foundations that really were passionate about creating permanently affordable home ownership. And then we partner with different municipalities like the city of Denver, who's made a commitment to affordable home ownership. So we acquire single family homes on the market, and then we also work with developers to create new condominium and townhome type of products. And when we do that, we essentially have a one-time subsidy. So we say, what is the gap between either the development cost to create this home or what we are paying for it on the market? If we acquire single family homes, we're also rehabbing them to make sure they're, energy efficiency, doing some aesthetic upgrades to make sure they're in good quality when we sell them. And so these homeowners are benefiting significantly from that subsidy. And in order to make this model work, that's where the 25% equity, shared equity program comes in. So if they're able to purchase a home at, say, $200,000, one of the neat things about this community land trust model is homeowners are never forced to sell. So we get a lot of questions about what happens if I get a raise? What happens if I make more money? And our answer is always, that's great. Let's celebrate that. We want to support, and we do support economic mobility, and we want to see people become more successful in their careers and more financially stable. So homeowners are never forced to sell a home, regardless of what happens to their income or if they add additional household members. Unless you're in default, that home is theirs, and it can become a family legacy home, which is really important. You can will it to your kids or a partner or somebody that's lived with you for over a year in that home. But if they choose to sell, and so if they bought it at $200,000 and we're, appraisal to appraisal, and say 10 years later they want to sell it, and now it's worth $300,000. The way that works is they're able to take their base price, so what they paid for it minus realtor commissions, and then add to that 25% of any market appreciation. So they're building wealth both in the traditional sense of paying down their mortgage, And then they're also building wealth and participating in that market appreciation. And there's been really great national data to show that a significant portion, a majority of CLT homeowners are then able to build up enough wealth to move into market rate homeownership if they so choose.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Was there another part of your question that I?
No, I think you did a great job in answering my question, and
Okay.
I just don't want to hog up all the questions because I know John has some questions that he'd like to ask you as well. And
Sure.
so,
If you have a couple more, you can.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to steal the show here.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, what populations do you serve?
Yeah, great.
Who do you support?
Yeah, so we're able to essentially serve households that are at or below 80% of the area median income. So area median income, or AMIs, are published by how the HUD, so the Housing and Urban Development at the federal level, for each county every March or April. So I can give you an example of that. I'll share my screen here. Okay. So just to give you an idea, we price our homes at really the lower of what is 70% of AMI, or essentially below 80% of a comparable market rate home. But this is really the chart of 2021 maximum income. So for Metro Denver, 80% of area median income for a one-person household is just under $56,000. For a four-person household, it's just $79,900. So these are essentially our maximum income limits. So that potentially gives people, and these are all on our website, an idea in terms of how many people are in their household. You count up all the adults and the children, everyone but the pet, as we like to say, to determine what your household size is. But when we look at Denver, this reaches across a number of different professions. So, this is teachers, first-year teachers, and a lot of construction staff, skilled labor. This is, a lot of retail and restaurant staff, professional services, really essential workforce. A lot of people that are working in healthcare. There's so many industries, across from education to healthcare to, like I said, service industry that really meet these income requirements. And these are, we say this is the critical workforce of our communities, right? And we need to be providing affordable housing for these folks, across the spectrum, right? But particularly in terms of our work, it's just, you can't create an equitable community if you can't provide affordable and attainable housing for the people that we all rely on, right? From educators to healthcare workers to, we have policemen that are part of our program. We have electricians, we have several teachers, we have, different nonprofit staff that have been able to purchase homes, construction workers. So there's a wide variety, but that's really, that's really an example of who we serve.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Sure.
So what type of services can an individual, obviously we know it's getting into a home, but what kind of services can an individual expect to receive from your organization?
Sure. For one, I would just say, that process of buying a home, we really want to make sure people are educated and comfortable and essentially prepared for home ownership. So some of the ways that we do that are not only our own orientation, but making sure people go through the CHAFA Homebuyer education class, which is free right now, and I would recommend to anyone looking for a home, but really wanting to work with them to make sure they know exactly, what they are signing up for. That includes us providing a free pro bono attorney to review our land lease document with every buyer prior to them closing. And then once they're a homeowner, one of the things so we have a $100 a month community land trust fee that every homeowner pays directly to Elevation every month. And that does a few things. One of the things that does is help us pay the property taxes on the land. It supports a little bit of our administration, but it also serves as a bellwether for us if a household is experiencing trouble. So people are more likely to not pay the CLT fee than they are to not pay their mortgage. So if we realize we're not receiving CLT fees, it gives us the opportunity to reach out to a household and say, hey, is everything okay? You know, are you, you know, was there a medical expense or an unexpected expense? Did somebody possibly lose a job? You know, are you concerned about your ability to continue to pay your mortgage? And then really be proactive about connecting them with appropriate resources to do everything we can to get that household back on track. So that's one of the services, is just we really view ourselves as a partner to the homeowners to make sure that they are successful in homeownership. And, you know, when you look at CLT rates, they have historically significantly lower rates of foreclosure than comparable market rate homeownership, partially, you know, a lot, I think, because the CLT is in partnership with the homeowner to really make it successful. In addition to that, whenever they want to do qualified capital improvements or a major improvement on the home, if they want to refinance, if they want to resell, the land trust is there really in partnership and support of those decisions as well.
Great. I think, yeah, you asked, I was going to ask you about the cost of the organization, to use your organization, but I think you kind of cleared that up. Is there any other fees like that initially? You know, is there anything like that?
Yeah, so the cost of application is that there's a one-time non-refundable $25 application fee. So currently our application is online. You know, it's pretty extensive, so it's an investment of time on both the behalf of the homeowner as well as the organization. But, you know, that's really the only cost that they pay us to review the application. You know, and we have some requirements that homeowners have, you know, basically $3,000 to be able to purchase a home, but none of that comes to us. We just want to make sure they have a little bit of a cushion. So $2,000 in reserve, because homeownership comes with unexpected costs, you know, and then $1,000 earnest money is the minimum for our program.
Okay, great. You know, hearing you talk, it just, I see so many opportunities for partnership. Are you working with any other city agencies to kind of help support your mission?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we also are so dependent on partners and really see that as an extension of our organizational success. So Host, you know, with the city of Denver has been a great partner for Elevation. We've also been working with the Office of Financial Empowerment and Protection. We've also been working with, you know, Work Now to really get connected with some of those career opportunities. Currently, we're in 8 municipalities, so everywhere from Aurora to, you know, Denver, all the way up the Front Range up to Fort Collins. So we're working with a number of different municipalities right now. But I would say you know, we really try and be conscious of both. Every community has slightly different needs, but we are always looking to partner with nonprofits and other organizations that have, you know, deep connections within those communities that can help us really understand the specific needs of where we are working, and to the extent that we can act as, you know, essentially I guess a spine or an infrastructure, you know, to help other partners, you know, address some of their goals. So we've gotten, you know, inquiries from religious organizations and from community organizers and from other nonprofits to say, you know, what I'm hearing from our constituents is really a concern about affordable housing, right? And from immigrant and refugee, organizations that serve immigrant and refugee populations. And so it is something we are very actively involved in, is that community outreach, trying to make sure people know about our program. And if it's not appropriate in some cases, it's appropriate for staff and or the clients they serve, but also really wanting to get people educated about the path to homeownership. So maybe they're not qualified today, but they could work with a housing counselor, or they could work with the nonprofit that they're connected to say, how do I make this a realistic goal in, a year or two? And then, really set themselves up for success there in the future.
That's wonderful. Thank you. This next question I have is one that, we've asked everyone, and the past year and a half, our lives have changed in significant ways with COVID-19. And I'm sure your organization was not exempt from some of the changes that we all have to live with. How has COVID-19 impacted the work that you're doing?
Yeah. So I will say, when COVID first hit, we really, I'm sure like everybody, took a step back to say, how do we think this is going to impact our work and, our organization? I think we were, initially thinking that we might see a decrease in the applications because, people had so many different things going on and kind of a shifting of everybody's priorities. In fact, we've seen the opposite. So we've seen probably close to a 10-fold increase in the number of applications. It certainly forced us operationally to move everything online and virtual, which I think in some ways gave us broader access. I think in other ways, we realized a need to address some of those technology inequities, in terms of who has access to technology and technology resources. That continues to be a conversation of everything from how do we reach populations that aren't comfortable with an online application, to people that don't have reliable, access to a computer. So we do still have options if people need to send in a paper application or something, but I will say, it has really forced us to upgrade our operational systems to all be accessible online. Mm-hmm. And in terms of sort of the opposite effect that we saw in terms of an increased interest, I think a lot of that is we've seen people redefine what home means, right? And what the importance of having a stable home for health, for education, for family stability, for just, our collective future. And so I think we've really seen people kind of reconsider, how do I create housing stability in my life? And for a lot of people, I think, the community land trust model has become a great option.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic program. Absolutely. So it sounds like you get the word out a lot of the times through partnering with other agencies.
We do, and we're excited. We just recently hired a new community realty associate, and he's going to be doing a lot of community outreach, and is expanding we've just recently hired a couple people that are helping us expand our language equity, expand our community relationships and partnerships with other nonprofits. Mm-hmm. So we are absolutely always open to talking to other nonprofits that are trying to address issues around housing and affordable housing. And we're also really working on programs with employers. So we've been working with Work Now and the Association of General Contractors to launch essentially Workforce Wednesdays, which is, really just an educational hour. So we've been kind of giving a condensed version about the Community Land Trust, which is about 20 minutes, focusing on one of our properties that host is also a helped fund, which is the La Tela condos right in the Santa Fe Arts District of Denver, and those homes start at $150,000. So focusing on just the accessibility of that development, and then working with one of our participating lender partners for people that have never applied for a home mortgage before, and just sort of home mortgages 101, right? What do you need to know? How should you talk to lenders about selecting a lender? What kind of credit score will you need to be able to qualify for a conventional mortgage? What kind of savings do you need to have? So just all of those questions for people, because it can be pretty intimidating, to go call, pick up the phone and call a lender for the first time. So yeah, we're really just trying to figure out how do we create some more education and brand awareness around this being a choice for people that if they are currently renting, and we, have some great slides about, I've actually put one up, but about when you sort of compare market rate home ownership to community land trust home ownership to renting, what are these different aspects to think about, and so I'm happy to share that if we have time.
Yes, please do share.
Yes, please.
Great.
I'm excited to see that.
Let's see here. Yeah, so this is one of the slides that we go over in our orientation. But really just looking at, this comparison of buying a home on the market to buying a community land trust home to somebody that's renting. And in all scenarios, if that home's appraised value was the same at $350,000, the purchase price is about $100,000 different for lower in a community land trust home. So for us, that's the combination of the city subsidy as well as elevation subsidy, making that home more affordable. Just looking at the difference in terms of a typical market rate down payment requirement and a CLT down payment requirement. And I do want to note, we also have lenders that work with different down payment assistance programs, which can cover a lot of the down payment and closing costs. And then, when you have a lower purchase price of the home, you have a significantly lower mortgage payment as well. So just going through this comparison, certainly in renting, none of these things are even coming into play. But on a market rate home of, $350,000, you might be paying, just your principal and interest over $1,600 a month. And in that same scenario, it would be about half for the community land trust home. All of this translates to a significantly lower monthly payment, even when you include that $100 a month CLT fee. You still see a significantly lower total housing payment for individuals. And then if we look at sort of what people are potentially paying over 5 years, I mentioned this a little earlier, but a lot of times, people are paying more in rent than they would be on a mortgage. So, on the mortgage to support that market rate acquisition, we're looking at about $114,000, again, $71,760 for the CLT home, which is significantly lower than what somebody might spend, likely would spend in rent over that same period of time.
Absolutely.
So when we're looking at the total paid, again, the CLT home significantly lower than either rent or buying a home on the market. And we are really transparent, so our shared equity formula, you do not receive 100% of equity like you would, assuming a 3% annual appreciation. You certainly get more when you go to sell out of the market rate home, versus here, this is a result of our 25% shared equity formula, but you are still earning wealth in that way in addition to paying down your mortgage. And so we look at this though, you may have gotten $100,000 if you could afford to get into market rate home ownership to begin with. You're still getting $44,000 in the community land trust model, which is a huge difference when you think about renting for 5 years and really walking away with nothing. So that's one of the key education points that we really like to emphasize, especially for people that have maybe been renting this market, have had to move every year or two, so there's the clear financial benefit, but then there's also the benefits that I mentioned earlier of just the stress of being, constantly moving or being displaced from a community that you felt part of and all of that.
Right. Well, that was a great slide. Thank you for showing that. That really laid it out really well. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience as far as program services or maybe upcoming events that you're at? I know you mentioned the Workforce Wednesdays. How does somebody find out about that?
Yeah, so we have both on our Facebook and our Instagram, which are at Elevation CLT. We try to, promote all of those upcoming Workforce Wednesday events. Some are employer specific, so I would say for large employers in the region, if this is something you would like to offer to your employees and or partners, we always would love to do a presentation. So That's something we can certainly, we've set some of them up as like lunch and learns for employees. But social media, we try and really promote our upcoming events on our website, which I can certainly pull up. We have a list of our upcoming orientations. So let me just, so that website is elevationclt.org. And actually, if you go under here, under application process, this really lays out sort of the 6 steps required for somebody to, you know, see if they qualify to be an Elevation CLT homeowner. So this first step here is, let me know if you can see these. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this goes through Metro Denver County, Boulder County, where we have some homes, so people can do a quick check on the income limits relative to their household size. We always recommend people come attend a free online orientation. So our orientations are 90 minutes. They really cover, I would say, 97% of the questions people tend to have about our program. So you can just pick one of these dates. They're in English and Spanish, and sign up for an orientation. Let's see if I can get back here. Oops. And then we also on this page have a link to that CHAFA Homebuyer Education class. So that is more of a 4 to 6 hour class, and you speak with a CHAFA homebuyer counselor after that class to make sure you really understood the concepts. But right now, those are also free and online, an incredible resource that I would encourage people to take advantage of. And then this big red button here is Start Here. So that starts essentially our pre-screening process for our application. Here we have a list of our participating lenders. So we have 4 participating lenders that, you know, have approved all of our documents and have trained their underwriters how to work with our program. And then you can view the homes here, which I'll just highlight really quick. This is just an example of the kinds of homes that we have for sale. So Xenia properties are over in East Colfax. They were just completely remodeled, really amazing 2-bedroom, 1-bath units. You know, and that there's a great variety. So these duplexes are out in Gun Barrel, also really great properties and fully remodeled. This is the Latela development, which we have studio 2 and 3 bedroom, beautiful condos, some with just incredible mountain views, but those are all under $200,000. We have these wee cottages up in Longmont. So you can get an idea, you know, this is one of our sort of, you know, an idea of a slightly larger home, 2-bedroom, 3-bath. And, you know, and then we have, if you want to see sort of homes that are under contract, gives you a little more idea. So some of these are 4-bedroom, 3-bath homes. So yeah, we you know, really try hard to have a variety of homes available in our portfolio, you know, to serve a large variety of different household sizes. One of the questions we do get a lot is, you know, I saw this house and I love it. How do I write an offer? So that is one of the differences between us and the market, is that you have to be fully qualified, meaning you've qualified for Elevation's program and you have qualified for a conventional mortgage with a participating lender before you can write a contract on our home, one of our homes. And we're a first come, first served basis. So the sooner, you know, the sooner you get fully qualified, you enter our wait list. And then, you know, up until this point, people have been pretty good about being able to move people through the program. So, you know, once they're on the wait list, you know, if they're interested in a new house that becomes available, essentially the first person to be fully qualified, if there's more than one person that's interested, has the first opportunity to write a contract on the home. But you're not in a bidding war, you're not negotiating on price, you know, the prices are the prices. So I think that takes a lot of the stress out of it as well for people.
How fast are houses going on your?
I mean, you know, they're going pretty, I would say pretty consistently right now. I think we had maybe 16 new homeowners last month alone. So, you know, it depends a little bit. Like I said, we've got 92 beautiful condominium homes coming online. starting this July. So we anticipate, we've already got a number of those under contract. We anticipate those will have a pretty good volume as well. But we're constantly acquiring properties and constantly rehabbing them, and so constantly adding new properties to our portfolio.
Great. Well, I don't have any other questions, Derek. Do you have anything else?
I don't. Lauren, I look forward to you coming to our community of practice meeting because I think what you have to share is going to be extremely beneficial. So thank you for coming and joining us today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I look forward to more conversations with you all, and I'm happy to have you share my email or our organizational info for anybody that would like to talk more.
We'll definitely make that a part of the video as well. So yes, just like Derek said, thank you so much for taking the time today. This sounds like a fantastic program, and it sounds like you've already started to help a lot of people, and I'm sure there's a lot more coming down the pipeline. So thank you again for telling us about your program, and hopefully we can help get the word out about it as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll see you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.